This is a ManeHustle Media podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Jackie O and you're listening to Militantly Mixed.
Yo, this is Rashani from the Single Simulcast. And when I'm not making you laugh or making up parody songs, I'm kicking back, listening to Militantly Mixed.
Hey y'all, welcome to Militantly Mixed, a podcast about race and identity from the mixed race perspective. I am your host, Chimaican, aka MixedGirlMane, the busiest mixed race, bisexual, polyamorous, atheist, comic book nerd, cat mom podcaster in this podcasting game. And I'm laughing because I hope I don't sound terrible, but I'm actually talking to you right now from my phone, in my car, in my parking garage underneath my building, because I have a friend staying with me for a few weeks as they're moving here to LA, and their current sleeping space is my recording space, and it's really hard having 3 people in a small apartment. I can't find a time to record my intros, so I just decided that temporarily my recording studio is going to be inside my car. But I didn't go and get my portable recording device. I'm recording it on my phone right now because I was already down here. And yeah, I hope it doesn't sound terrible. We're definitely going to hear some cars and people walking and things like that. But, I hope you bear with me for a few weeks while I'm in this flux, I guess. But I'm really excited about this week's episode. My guest this week is MonaLisa. She is of Chinese and Jamaican heritage, or Chimaican, as she likes to call herself. And, I'm always excited when I get a chance to speak to a fellow Black Asian mixed person, or Blasian. Our experiences as Black Asians are very different from the experiences of mixed white Asians. And so far, I haven't actually had a chance to speak to mixed Asians that are also of non-white or non-Black mixes. So I haven't had a chance to share those stories yet, as I haven't really encountered them yet. But I'm always pretty excited when I get a chance to speak to a fellow Blasian, just because I feel like it's the closest to being similarly mixed to me, regardless of what their Asian and what their Black is. So with MonaLisa being Chinese and Jamaican, those are 2 cultures that are different from my cultures. And it was really cool to get a chance to kind of compare and talk about what our mixed experiences are. And we talked about the culture shock of living in different countries and language and assimilation. It was such a good conversation. I cannot wait to share it with you. But before I do that, as you know, Militantly Mixed is a fan-sponsored podcast. And with your support, you're really, really helping keeping me going. Your sponsorship helps keep me able to produce the show because of the rest of the stuff that is going on in my life. So your support has been just, I know I say it all the time, but it just really, really helps keep me going. Right now, we are currently at $311 a month. We're trying to hit a $500 a month goal. And if you'd like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/militantlymixed and sponsor the show as low as $1 a month to as high as anything you wish. And there's different reward levels depending on what you sponsor at. And if you'd like to sponsor the show, but you don't want to commit to a monthly sponsorship, you can go to paypal.me/militantlymixed and drop us some coins in that tip jar. And I really, really do appreciate that. What else we got going on? We did have a little weekend sale, like not a sale, but a free shipping thing. Unfortunately, I didn't find out about it until I recorded last week's episode. So I posted about it on Friday over the weekend on social media that Teespring was offering free shipping to anybody who purchased within the Militantly Mixed store. So I hope you saw those posts. If you wanted a shirt and you wanted free shipping, if you didn't, the shirts are still always available. It's just that the company Teespring, who does our print on demand, actually was offering free shipping themselves. So unfortunately, that's gone by the time you're hearing this, but it was kind of a nice thing to have available to everybody. And of course, you can always go to Teespring and search for the Militantly Mixed store if you want some Militantly Mixed t-shirt, totes, and mug kind of swag, or enamel pins, the mini buttons, and the vinyl stickers. You can go to our Etsy store And both of those links are in the show notes. I think that's pretty much it. I don't really have that many announcements. Just a lot going on, working like crazy. Have a friend staying with us, trying to book some events in different places, waiting to hear back from a couple of conferences that I'm hoping I'm getting a chance to speak at, things like that. So at the moment, I really don't have any hard things to announce, just a whole bunch of me putting it out there this year. 2020 is a year I'm going to be speaking more often. I'm pushing towards it. I already booked a couple events. I'm hoping to book some more, especially now that I know that I'll be in LA a lot longer than I originally thought. So if you got your mixed race events and you want somebody to come out and chat, holla at Chimaican. I am here to do this. This is my year of going out and speaking more often. Don't forget to follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We've actually had a pretty big boost lately of people joining the Facebook private group, which is great. I hope you're introducing yourselves and engaging. Got a couple introductions popped up on Saturday, which was nice. And we want to know what's going on with you. We want to hear from you, and we want to engage with you on the topic of mixedness. If you have an idea or a post that you want to put out there, please put it out. But it's been awesome to see that much growth on all of the social media channels. Let's start engaging more often and supporting each other. If you're doing something mixed out there that you want to share with the group, that you want some support on, a podcast, a YouTube channel, a social media channel of any kind, I guess, is a Pinterest page something that you would share with other people? I don't know. But if you're doing that kind of stuff, let us know so that we can showcase it and talk about it on the show. And so without further ado, please help me welcome MonaLisa to the Militantly Mixed family. All right, so my guest this week, I'm so glad to be able to have guests back to back now. It makes me feel like the show is back on track. My guest this week is MonaLisa, who reached out to me through Instagram. MonaLisa, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you're about so we can get into it?
Sure. So like she said, my name's MonaLisa. I was born in Hong Kong back in the 90s. My dad is Cantonese, and my mom's Jamaican. I lived there when I was 12, and then we moved to America for middle school. And I've been here since. It's been at least 15 years since I've been here. I currently work in the healthcare field. I work at an urban children's hospital where I'm the supervisor of patient experience. I also do a lot of translating for families because I speak multiple languages. It's been, my life has been pretty cool, to be able to live in at least two countries and experience my Chinese culture, my Jamaican culture, and my American culture somehow in the mix. It's made my life pretty interesting and fun. So I'm very glad to come on this podcast to discuss about these things. So.
Right. I'm excited. You and I talked before, so we both know this, but we're both pretty excited to meet another Black Asian, even though we don't come from the same Asian background. We get really excited when we find each other because we know there's not many of us out there.
The term I believe is called Blasian, Blasian. So we do have a term for that.
A lot of people do use Blasian. From my purposes, I do like to say Blackanese because it's the one that makes it obvious that I'm Japanese because of the anise. But if I'm in a space where there's other Blasians, I will be Blasian in that moment too for solidarity purposes.
All right. And I think I told you too. I made up my own term. Chimaican.
Yeah. Say it again.
Chimaican.
I love Chimaican. It's so good. No, I think it's awesome. So I thought your experience was really interesting because you have sort of segments of your life where you were predominantly living in a Chinese experience and then an American experience, which was very similar, you said, to the Black American experience because where you were at. And now in your life, you are starting to have more access to your Jamaican side.
Yes.
So I know you speak Cantonese and Mandarin. Do you also speak patois? Am I saying that right?
Yes, Jamaican patois, yes. So what happened was, this is probably one of, I don't want to use the term regrets, but this is one of the things that I wish I explored or learned earlier in life. So when we lived in Hong Kong, obviously the language there is Cantonese and secondary language English. My father, from a Chinese standpoint, didn't believe that it was useful for us to learn patois. So he did not encourage us to learn it. Okay. And then when we came to America, when I was 12, it was a similar sentiment, like, hey, we want you to properly learn English because we're not an English-speaking country now. We don't want you to be bullied. We want you to properly immerse in the American culture. So focus, learning your English and go from there. So it wasn't until recently I married a Jamaican man 3 years ago that I started to explore more on that side of my culture, that I realized, wow, it would have been nice if I know how to say a few words or a few sentences, because it gets a little bit awkward when I go to New York City to see, his family, and we go to ultra Jamaican. We go to their church, ultra Jamaican. We're in the ultra. You can't get as Jamaican as that. Outside of Jamaica, that is Jamaica.
That's
outside
the other
of Jamaica. So I am starting to, learn to, just by default, living with a Jamaican, I by default, picked up a few words in there. And I understand the language, but yeah, I wish I learned that earlier. But hey, I'm still young. I still have a lot of time to catch up. So
yeah, you'll get there. So how did your mom feel about not being able to teach patois to you as a child?
That's a good question. I guess I never really asked my mom that question. I think my parents kind of made that compromise. Like they actually agreed that, it's probably better that they don't focus on learning patois. She never expressed to me that she was upset or not happy that we don't know it. I think, honestly, when we were in Hong Kong, she was more focused on building up our self-confidence, because we don't look like anybody there.
Right.
We're the only ones. We're the dark girls. We're the dark curly girls everywhere we go, whether it's school, on the streets, in the park, at church, anywhere. We look so different than other people. I think our parents were way more focused building up our confidence. Say, hey, it's okay to be different than trying to learn this language that we won't use in Hong Kong. So.
When you came to the States, did you transition to speaking English at home as well so that it helped your assimilation, or did you continue to speak Cantonese at home more?
We do. So when we were in Hong Kong, it was just Cantonese, some English here and there. And then 2 years before we moved, so I moved here at 12. We knew at 10 years old that we were moving. So those 2 years, my mom kind of prepped us. So, kind of spoke more English in the house. And then when we made, the hard move, then we added more English into the household. But we always spoke Chinese in the household. But definitely moving to America, it was more English in the house. I went to ESL in middle school. It's something embarrassing for me to share sometimes, but I did 7th grade when I first moved here. I had to go to ESL for a little bit because my accent was just so heavy.
If it makes you feel better, I'm born here in the United States, and I had to go to ESL because I was raised by both my Japanese grandmother and my British grandmother. So I spoke broken Japanese English with a British accent, and nobody understood me.
Wow.
So even though I'm born here and English is my only language, I sounded so confusing to people that they stuck me in ESL as well. So don't feel too bad. Don't feel shame about it.
Okay. Now, do you think, have you always had that fear that, you've never gotten out of that? Because sometimes I do wonder, do I still have a heavy accent? Do people still understand me? Do you ever?
I don't personally, because I code switch quite a bit. I jump between my pronunciation or my cadence or my accents depending on who I'm speaking with. So I grew up in a split between, we moved around a lot, but where I feel like I'm the most from, I guess, is Long Beach. And I was only in Long Beach from 6th grade to 10th grade, or the start of 10th grade, I guess. And so, but that's when I was a preteen. That's when I was kind of becoming who I was. Well, I lived in the hood then, so I had a very hood accent. So if I see other hood people, my accent will change and I will talk like a hood girl. But the accent that you hear me speaking with right now is the accent that I cultivated when I got into the workplace. So I don't even think of this as really my natural accent, although it's currently the way I speak most often. But it's not how I wasn't brought up speaking like this. And as in elementary school and things like that, I would kind of go in between my Japanese and English, which was really just a couple words here and there. It wasn't like I was fluent by any means, but living more of my time with my Japanese grandmother, there was some words I only knew in Japanese first, so I had to adapt to that. So I don't really have any shame related to that. Where I have shame is if I'm trying to speak any Japanese to a person from Japan. If I speak to an American-born Japanese, it doesn't bother me that I don't have a very good, accent or pronunciation. But when I speak to real Japanese, quote unquote real Japanese, I feel uncomfortable then. That's the closest to feeling shame about the way I sound that I get. Yeah. But you still deal with that a little bit? You still kind of have concern? Because I know that was actually one of the questions you asked me. Do I sound like an American or do I sound, is it obvious? Yeah.
Yes, I still, I guess, for me, because, being an immigrant and, always wanting to fit in, I guess that's something that I always wonder or worry about in the back of my head.
Right.
I do remember going to college. I had actually grad school. I had an amazing moment in grad school where there was this speaker. She came to, it's nothing to do with language or anything. When I was in grad school, we had a speaker that came in about management. She was there to give tips about, because I was taking a management course. And one of her points was, you need to learn how to enunciate so that people know what you're talking about and that you can properly drive your points through when you're speaking to an audience. So at the end of that class, I went to the side and asked her, I loved your lecture today, but one thing I worry about is the way I sound. I worry if I have a little accent, if people look at me strange when I talk to them. Do you have any advice for me? What she told me that day was, listen, in the future, when you go into management, it's not necessarily about the way you sound or what you say. It's about how you say it. Right? It's about how you say whatever points you're making. Don't worry about if you sound pitchy or if you sound foreign or if you have an accent. Don't worry about that. What you should worry about is how you're delivering your points. Yeah. Also another thing was be yourself. people follow leaders that are confident in themselves.
Right.
So be confident in the way you speak, be confident when you're talking to other people, and naturally people will listen to what you have to say. And that really hit me, wow, why am I so concerned with how I sound, when I should be concerned of other things,
Right.
So that was 2 years ago, and a lot of times I still have to remind myself, wow, that was good advice. I should remember that, whenever I'm at work and stuff. So,
well, that's good that someone did that for you, because I never felt the whole time that we've spoken that it was difficult to understand. Like you have a, like you speak like you're from here, but I can detect a little bit of a pronunciation thing, that sound, because I grew up around some Chinese kids too, and like certain ways in which I told you when I was watching you speak, there were certain things like the way your mouth moved and the way my mouth moves when we say the same word, slightly different, but that's because our first language, our vowel sounds and our consonant sounds are different. So we have to adapt to it when we learn a different language or whatever. But at no point do I ever feel like I don't understand you. Okay. And I know that that's a concern of yours. But yeah, I mean, can I detect an accent? Yeah. Is it a deep accent? No.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I feel really good about that. I will remember this moment too later on.
No, especially as you started to, like, as we've talked that, when you do translation, sometimes people are surprised that you speak Cantonese as good as you do, or Mandarin as good as you do, and you're just like, but those are the languages that
Yeah.
So it feels like you kind of can't win depending on who you're talking to, because someone's always going to see, an other in that situation. You said to me something about growing up in Hong Kong. You weren't necessarily treated like a total outsider. People would eventually kind of accept that you're from there. It was the immediate, like, seeing that you're darker skinned and kind of surprised. Is that true? I mean, is that how that felt?
Yes. I can't speak for other multicultural families that live there, but at least for my family standpoint, yes, I believe in the beginning, people look at us and say, oh, the mom's black, the kids look weird. I don't know about this. So in the beginning, there's a bit hesitation when people look at us. And then it turns to curiosity. So like, do they speak Cantonese? Do they have our culture?
Right.
Do they live here? And then once they talk to us, after a few conversations, after a few weeks or months, getting to know about our family, then people finally warm up to us and say, oh, okay, so they're part of us. They may be different, but they're part of us. So that's for the general sense. People eventually do warm up to us. And I asked my mom last year, did she enjoy living in Hong Kong? And her answer was yes. She loved living there as a Jamaican Black woman. She says there'll be racist people no matter where you go.
Right.
But she generally felt like she would move back to live there, and she, in a general sense, she loved it there. So. Oh, yeah.
That's interesting. And so did you, in terms of how you have managed racism in your life, have you felt it was different when you were in Hong Kong versus when you came to the States?
Yes. So when we were in Hong Kong, it was more direct. When we are in America, it's more like indirect kind of way. So I'll explain. So when I was in primary school, and we call it primary school there. In the Hong Kong school system, there's the principal, there's the vice principal, and then there's teachers that are the head of each department. Well, from first grade to fifth grade, there was this teacher that was the head of disciplinary actions, and she did not like me.
Oh.
So for 5 years, from first grade to fifth grade, she was very direct in her discrimination against me. She would accuse me for harming other students, accuse me for cutting people, accuse me for damaging school property.
Oh my goodness.
She would. There was this one time in first grade. It was second semester in first grade. She wrote me up for biting my nail.
What?
Yes. She wrote me up for biting, it wasn't suspension, but she wrote me up and had me stand in front of the class and apologize to the class for biting my nails.
Wow.
So that was very direct. And it happened for 5 years. And at that time, I knew what was going on. I know I was kind of young, but I actually knew. And that's because my parents stood up for me. Every time the head of discipline action, this lady, let's call her Miss Liu. Let's call her that. Every time Miss Liu brought up something against me, they would go to the principal and complain about her. It happened for 5 years, and I feel like maybe third grade, you know what? I'm just gonna deal with this lady, this teacher not liking me, But my parents continued to vouch for me. They continue to tell me there's nothing wrong with you. I don't want you to don't let this teacher think that you're beneath her or beneath anybody. All right. We'll continue to support you. And that's how I know that, I understood racism as it is. And then finally, sixth grade, she got transferred to another school. And sixth grade was great. So yeah, that happened for 5 years, but that really taught me from earlier age, to not let racism, that type of racism bother me. I'm still beautiful. I should still be myself. And life goes on. Don't let this thing bother your grades. Don't let this bother, your personality, your mental health. And to have my parents support me was very important, because I understand a lot of biracial, multiracial children, they may have grown up in a single household, or maybe they never had their parents support them or teach them about or educate them a lot about racism at an early age. But I had that lesson early, and I think because of that, it kind of prepared me, for the rest of my life.
So. So you feel fairly confident in your biracialness, like you don't feel like you're lacking in any way or not enough of necessarily?
I think I am glad, and if I were to die and reborn again, I wouldn't change this part of myself. I'm proud that I'm Chinese and Jamaican. I'm proud that I can speak 2 or 3 languages. I think being biracial, you always have those moments where you wonder, am I too Chinese? Am I too Jamaican? Should I fix my hair? Should I fix my hair to look more Chinese? Should I do my curls today because I'm with Jamaican people? There's always those questions that I have. But I think having that racist lesson early in life, when I moved to America, I was proud that I'm mixed. Okay. I was telling everybody, hey, I'm Chinese and Jamaican. I'm MonaLisa. I was telling everybody that. I was proud that I'm mixed. By the time I came to America, I was more focused on my accent, but I was not focused about my race, because I was proud of it. I was proud of being mixed.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. Did you so you said when you came to the States that you ended up in a predominantly Black neighborhood. So for the most part, you were looked at as a Black kid with your fellow classmates and anything like that? Or did they notice, did they have questions about why you were slightly different than them or anything?
Yeah. So like I said, I was in ESL for a year in middle school. So if anything, middle school was my transitional time. So that was when I learned to really immerse in American culture. I started to wear jeans. I started watching American shows. I was trying to work on, my pronouncing and enunciate English words better. So middle school, it was a lot more questioning in middle school because that was my transitional period.
It's so funny that you say that you started to wear jeans, because that seems to be it does seem to be such an American thing, that it would be like, I must be in America now. I'm wearing jeans.
Yeah. I started wearing jeans. And then high school, I felt like high school went on pretty good. High school, from my standpoint, I got English down. I can mingle with more people and, try to learn some, black word, like, ghetto words, hang out with the black kids and go play volleyball and basketball, So I think high school was very fun. I was able to gain more American friends then. So,
were there any other Asians of any kind in the area that you were at?
So, good question. So when we moved to America, I think our situation flipped, where in Hong Kong, my family was trying to teach us English. And when we moved to America, I feel like we were trying to maintain our Chinese culture.
Right.
The area where we moved to was mainly Black folks and Black culture, but not many Asian, like whether it's Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai, or whatnot, like barely any Asian in that area. So it became my dad, from my mom's responsibility teaching us English to now became my dad's responsibility to, like, hey, let's maintain this culture. It's good to, remember your Chinese and our culture. So what my dad would do is, Chinese New Year, we're going to Chinatown, whether it's the Boston Chinatown or the New York Chinatown or whatever Chinatown that's close by, or the Washington, D.C. Chinatown. Like, we're going to Chinatown for New Year.
I gotcha.
At home, we continue to speak in Cantonese every summer. So it's very Asian to have summer homework. That's a very Asian thing. So every summer, my dad would have us, do like essays in Chinese and like watch Chinese movies and stuff.
Okay. So keep that going for you. Did you feel like your Chinese dipped at all? Like, was it harder to keep up on writing or reading as you got more assimilated into your American life?
I think in college it dipped a little bit because I was very focused on studying. I was so focused on college was so hard. I have like 18 credits for this semester. I was so focused on that.
That's a very Asian thing to do too.
Yeah, I didn't. Like, I went to a school. I went to college and grad school to the same school. My alma mater is known for their sports team. I didn't go to any sports teams for the 6 years I was there.
Oh, wow.
And my school is known for sports. So like, I was so focused on academics. It's so Asian, I guess, that I've never been to a basketball game or football game. Never. But after college, I guess, so I told you this, I work in healthcare. And I think working in healthcare allowed me to get more into back into it. So I moved away from my family for school, and I'm still here. I stayed at the same place as I was where I went to school. So it's more urban here, and the hospital that I work at has a lot of families, mixed families going, including Chinese families. So me being able to interact with these people on a weekly basis. And also there are more Chinese churches in this area.
Okay.
Just more Chinese in general in this place compared to where, I initially moved to, kind of got me back into the culture and the talking. So So yeah.
Right. And how's your mom's Chinese? Is it pretty decent?
Oh, good question.
I didn't ask that the last time, and as soon as we hung up, I was like, "Oh man, I didn't ask."
So, my mom surprises me. Sometimes I don't hear her speak Chinese for a long time, and I wonder, maybe she forgot. I feel so bad. And then 3 weeks ago, I drove home to see my family, and we were talking about watching Ip Man 4. So, so some people don't know, it's a very popular martial arts movie series from Hong Kong. So the last movie came out, the 4. So we're talking about going to see Ip Man 4, and it's a Cantonese movie. And my mom started dropping Cantonese. I'm like, oh, okay. She still got it.
Nice.
So yeah, my mom's a nurse. So when we lived in Hong Kong, she had to learn Cantonese in order to take care of patients. So when we were in Hong Kong, she was definitely fluent. When we moved here, she probably didn't use it as much, but I think my mom still knows a lot. I mean, she's still married to my dad.
Yeah.
So.
And if it happens to have a Chinese family enter the hospital that she's at, she could really surprise them. But
yes, she actually told me this recent story. A year ago, there was a elderly Chinese woman that came to her hospital, and the Cantonese word for cold is very similar to the Cantonese word for pain. So this lady was talking about, I'm in pain, but then a few minutes later she started talking about I'm cold. So my mom, in front of the doctors and nurses, asked in Cantonese, I need you to clarify, did you mean cold or pain? Because they both sound very similar. And everyone just looked at her like, what? Wait, what? What just happened? Like, did she just go on Google to try to do that? Or did that just randomly came out of her mouth? So the patient was talking about she was having pain in one part of her body, not being cold. So my mom was giving me that experience a year ago where, like she dropped that in front of everyone, and they were pleasantly surprised that she could say that. Yeah.
And it's the difference between getting proper treatment or not for that patient.
Yep.
That's awesome. Okay, so we didn't get a chance to talk much about what access to Jamaican heritage and culture you had growing up, and now that you are married to a Jamaican man and you're having more access to Jamaican culture, what feels like what you grew up knowing and what feels like what you learned because you're married to a Jamaican man?
So I think I think this is the best time for me to mention my hair struggles. So me being mixed, I have the typical curly hair as someone that's the typical mixed type of hair. And I feel like growing up, I feel, I don't want to use the word ashamed, maybe a little bit, but I feel awkward being with Chinese people with curly hair.
Right.
I just don't feel Chinese enough. Especially when they call me in to translate for a patient, like, you know what, I know tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and translate, let me, straighten my hair a little bit and, look more presentable and all of that. But now with my husband being Jamaican and, trying to be more closer to this heritage, for this year, 2020, my goal is to be more accepting and more freeing of my curly hair. So don't worry about straightening it when I'm going to see a bunch of Chinese people. Don't worry about straightening it when I'm going to a meeting, or any important or formal event. I can rock it with my curls, and I shouldn't have to worry about how it looks or how messy it is,
Right.
So I feel like now I'm I'm gaining the confidence that I don't think I've had for a long time about my hair. And that's what I really look forward to in this year, 2020, being very comfortable with this hair. I'm not worried about, not worry about and be accepting. If I'm accepting of me being Chinese and Jamaican, I should be accepting of my hair, right? So
yeah. It's probably one of a few of the most visible aspects of you that shows your mixed heritage, in terms of your presentation and everything. So growing up, like with food and access to things that would be considered very Jamaican, even while you were in China, was your mom able to share aspects of her culture with you, or because it was a focus on trying to not make you so stand out as a mixed kid, did they try to keep you more Chinese?
So when we were in Hong Kong, there isn't, when I say isn't, there isn't resources there for Black people.
Right.
So that could be why, most of my life I've been trying to keep my hair straight, because, I started out living in a place where there's no products for curly hair. So
and it's not even like you can drive to the next town and find a Black hairdresser or something like that, too.
No, so when we were living in Hong Kong, my mom would call her relatives in America to ship her Black products.
Right.
Every 2 months, because where's she gonna get it in China?
Right.
So growing up, like, at least we were in Hong Kong, like, wow, mom has to special order products from out of the country. And then while at that, my mom wouldn't know what to do with our hair. So you know what? Just like get some oil, just, oil up your hair, brush it back, and put it in a bun. So that was my hairstyle for most of my childhood.
Right. And
then when we came to America, there was more access, but I was still, I'm not sure about my curls. So there were no pictures in middle school and high school with curly hair of me.
Oh, really?
There's none at all. Talking about food, when I was in Hong Kong, there's the typical curry chicken, curry goat, oxtail. These don't exist in Hong Kong.
Right.
They just don't. So we did go to Jamaica twice as a kid. So those were my only 2 interactions of Jamaica, is to legitimately flying there and like seeing my grandma there and my extended family there. And those were very nice, I'm like, my mom, did try to, expose us to that. And I think definitely moving to America has allowed me to, get more closer to that side. Do you
have a palate for Jamaican food? Like, does your mouth respond well to it, having grown up without those flavors?
Actually, I love spices. And I grew up eating Chinese spicy food, so that kind of prepared me for the Jamaican spiciness. So yeah, that wasn't a problem, at least. At least the spice stuff is not a problem.
So you were telling me over the holidays when you visited your family most recently, it was the first time that you can remember, you realized that there was a crossover food that you have between both of your cultures.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yes. Chicken feet.
I mean, it is something from both cultures. It's just, and you could probably make it so many different ways so that, like, today we want Chinese chicken feet and tomorrow we want Jamaican chicken feet. So how exactly did you stumble on it?
So the Thursday after Christmas, my whole family went to Chinatown. And when we were at Chinatown, we went to the traditional Chinese Cantonese restaurant, Zao Lao. And there you eat dim sum, It's different. Those are food that are steamed or fried and presented on baskets. And you have this woman pushing a cart around the restaurant saying, hey, do you want something from my cart? And you just look at the cart, see if you want anything. If yes, take a few baskets, if not, go. So that particular day, we ordered a lot of chicken feet. Chicken feet in Chinese is feng zhao. That particular dish, feng zhao, that actually means the claw of phoenix. So the claw of phoenix, feng zhao. My husband and I don't eat pork, so we ordered a lot of chicken. So we ordered probably like 5 plates of chicken feet that's red colored and it's spicy. So red spicy chicken feet. Then the next day, my mom was home and she was making soup. And she said, hey, it's Friday, I'm going to make something good for you guys. And then she came out with a bowl of Jamaican soup with chicken feet in it. And that was when it dawned on me, like, wow, yeah, this is the connecting force of both of our cultures.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I don't know why it took me that long to realize that, but yes, chicken feet, Chinese and Jamaican, bam.
So now that you are married to a Jamaican man and your life is starting to kind of veer more into Jamaican culture, do you feel like you're I know we're not really wanting to use the word regret, so trying to find a different word. Do you feel like, does it make you happy that you now have access to it? Or do you feel kind of sad or upset? I don't know what word to use about like not necessarily getting it when you were younger.
I think I'm happy that my life was segmented like that. I think so I spent my first 12 years of my life in China, so that kind of gave me a baseline of the language and culture that I have. And then moving to America and having those years of transition kind of give me some time to reflect and discover and think about what's it like being biracial. And then for me to marry a Jamaican man now, I feel like it's not, let me just say, I didn't marry him because I want to be Jamaican. I love him.
Yeah.
I love him. He's my handsome, sexy chocolate, But I think, now, to have the opportunity to be closer to my Jamaican culture now, I think it just fits perfectly in my timeline,
right, in
my life. Because I think if I would have jumped from China to Jamaica immediately, that might have been a big cultural shock.
Okay.
So I think it was actually good that we moved to America and gave me the time to, have the space to reflect on, who I am, work, to learn English, obviously, but with all the different experiences I've had, with the learning English, be more confident with my voice and speaking, and all that, I think it all prepared me to now that I can move on to the next step, which is, be confident with my curly hair and explore more of my Jamaican side. So,
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the hair thing is a pretty big deal for a lot of us. And I think as the show continues on, we'll probably end up talking about this a lot more. I mean, it comes up so often that to be able to just kind of focus in that area, when we were children, I'm like 20 years older than you almost, but when we were children, we had no products for mixed hair. There was just black products or just other products, and you had to work with what you had. And the kind of misconception about what could mixed hair could be the difference between a mixed kid having hair that was presentable and a mixed kid who just looked wild and crazy, or their hair was burnt off early, like what happened with me.
Oh no.
You know, because no one knew how to take care of it. And now, you know, now we're lucky that we have people who have started to invent products that are specific to our various kinds of hair. And I think as you start to explore your hair journey too, what'll be so much more helpful to you now than would have been when you were in middle school is there's a product out there that will be the right thing for you, and you'll be able to feel proud and happy and beautiful and all those things that you are.
Yeah.
So we're coming close to the end. I really enjoy getting a chance to speak to, well, obviously I have a mixed race show. I like to talk to all of us, but getting a chance to see a different Asian culture mixed with a different Black culture from my own kind of, it helps me to not think of like all Black Asians are this way. You know, it's easy to kind of pigeonhole myself because like this is my experience. So obviously all Black Asians have this experience, but you know, that kind of thing. Like you trick yourself into thinking this. So I really like getting a chance to hear your experience and the fact that you grew up for part of your life in China and then came to the States and things like that really shows me it's just something I guess I missed out on. Like I got to live in a house with a Japanese lady. I didn't get to go to Japan. You know, I didn't get to grow up in Japan. So I always feel kind of a pull there or an absence of Japan sort of, I guess, in my life. And it's nice that you got to have that exposure to everywhere that you're from.
And I'm actually going to Jamaica in July.
Oh,
I'll be there for 2 weeks. Yes. So everything just ties on really perfectly, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited to go to Jamaica. I haven't been there for 4 or 5 years now, and so we'll be going in July for 2 weeks to see my side of family there, my husband's side of family there, and hopefully I'll be even closer to my Jamaican roots there. So
that's awesome. So I like to ask everybody who comes on the show, what is your favorite thing about being mixed?
I think my favorite thing being mixed is that, wow, that's a heavy question, actually. Yeah. I think being mixed makes me different, and it's given me a lot of opportunities that to talk to different people. And a lot of opportunities in terms of work or different things, and I think that's a good thing. I also think being mixed is the best thing about being mixed is that I appreciate cultures. So if I'm not saying, you know, if you're just one race, you don't appreciate culture, but I feel like because I have the Chinese culture, the Jamaican culture, and the American culture all mixed together, and, you know, I speak another language or two, it kind of cultured me in a bit where I'm open to
more
learning
empathy for people.
Yes. Like, you know, today is, I hope I can say this. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and there's a lot of discussion today about the civil rights movement and how Black people has gone a long way from getting acceptance and going into high place in America. And, you know, me being mixed allows me to understand that. Like, I have empathy. I understand why it's a struggle for Black people.
Right.
You know, I feel like if I'm fully Chinese, it's just me. If I'm fully Chinese, I may not understand that.
Right.
But the fact that I'm half Black, my mom's Black, and my husband's Black, and my future kids is Black, I understand why, you know, why it's a great achievement that Black people now, you know, can go to school like other people, that can become CEOs, can be the president, you know. So the fact that I'm cultured I think that's the best part about being mixed. So, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you again for coming on the show. And I really appreciate the conversations we've had so far. I hope we can continue to have more conversations and come back and talk a little bit more about your hair journey once you get further along and you feel more comfortable and confident and everything. Before we wrap up, though, why don't you tell everybody how they can find you or what it is that you're going to be doing over the next month?
Sure. So I started an Instagram page a month or two ago. So please follow me. I talk a lot of I share a lot of my hair journey. I talk a lot about my hobbies with comic books, Batman, Wonder Woman, all of that. So Instagram at MonaLisa 0526. You can follow me there. Also, I will be starting a YouTube channel within the next month by February. It will be a channel for three things. Number one, talk about curly hair. Number two, the different all natural products that you can use for your curly hair, because I don't use chemicals in my household. I only use all natural things. So what are some good products, natural products for your curly hair? And number three, start a conversation about culture and being biracial. I think we need more YouTube channels and spaces on YouTube for these discussion, and I'm in the works to start a channel in the next few weeks. So So stay tuned. I will share more on Instagram.
Yeah, when you get it up and running, we'll talk about it again on the show so that people can know where to check you out. Thank you, MonaLisa, so much for reaching out to me and also to come on the show. I'm definitely going to be one of your big fans, watching your YouTube channel and everything. And thank you for exposing me to another aspect of Black Asian Blasian life. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Militantly Mixed is a ManeHustle media podcast, produced and hosted by me, Charmaine Fury. Music is by David Bogan the One. You can follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Militantly Mixed. If you'd like to become a sponsor of Militantly Mixed, please go to patreon.com/militantlymixed for monthly sponsorship or paypal.me/militantlymixed for a one-time only donation. And if you like what you hear on Militantly Mixed, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to be your mixed-ass self. ManeHustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.